Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton coming to you on a Wednesday, a chilly afternoon here in the capital city of Kansas. Thank you so much for joining us as we lead into what is a fantastic weekend of football. The Big 12 championship game, TCU and K-State, a battle of the purples, and then Chiefs versus Bengals. You buying the revenge tour? That's
130%. No one is ever going to explicitly say it. The Chiefs players that are part of this last year want to win this game as revenge for the AFC title game. Mahomes has gone so far as to not directly say it, but dance around that he knows they let that game go. He knows that they screwed up, that he played bad, and that they had a golden opportunity to go to another Super Bowl. And they didn't go because they screwed up. Andy Reid, we'll get to him today, but he's so far as gone even to mention today, he's like, they got us by, playing 3 down and put a bunch of guys in man, and you can tell that game is still with them. Is it revenge in the sense that they're going to try and win this game by 80 points? Mm-hmm. No. But there is no level where you could even think for a second this is going to be like the Rams or the Colts where they're blatantly unfocused. This is Bucks level of focus. That is what you're going to get out of this team.
I agree with you. However, there is one difference.
What's that?
I'm only 100% because you can't do 130%.
Oh, hush it.
I am team give 110%. No, You can't. It's not possible. You're a numbers guy. You are, and this is with all due respect, Fulton, you are a bit of a nerd.
There's not no. You don't need to put a bit in front of that. There's no a bit of.
But you're like a numbers guy. Yes. You are way more advanced than I am even remotely close to all the nerdy numbers, right? But yeah, it's only 100%.
Actually, in some level,
you're doing hyperbole, right?
In that sense, a little bit of hyperbole. Actually, but there is a level of where you can go over 100%.
How?
Like
your 100% is everything you've got.
It's in more specific, in terms of effort and things like that. Yes. That's probably stuck there.
Yes.
There are instances where things can grow at rates over 100%. There, it's weird and the math gets tricky there, but it's possible.
Well, yeah, like a company. Hey, their sales are up over 100%.
Yeah, because it's growing at a rate even faster than just being doubled and things like that. Yes, I will say in terms of effort and production, you're probably are capped at about 100.
I'm glad we got that there. But you were trying to just overemphasize.
Yes, it's the hyperbole of just the focus of this team is going to be incredibly focused.
I'm with you, and that's why I have played. And trust me, the whole thing of this game is just another game is a lie.
It's a load of malarkey.
It is so much BS because if I'm going to sit here and tell you, hey, Fulton, I cared the same when we played Truman State or Southwest Baptist as Pittsburgh State.
I know you are telling me a bold-faced lie based on the things you told me about your feelings for Pittsburgh State.
False. No, KU gearing up for K-State. They care about that game more. They do.
Don't
tell me that it's just another game.
I will give K-State credit. They're always pretty open about KU meaning a bit more. I give them credit. They don't lie. Even Chris Kleiman doesn't lie. He's like, no, that rivalry matters. And I'm like, thank you, Chris, for not being a big fat liar.
And this one, to me, does with the Bengals. I'm with you on that one. I really, really do. We will get to a lot today here on this edition of Mic'd Up. We're going to hear from Andy Reid. We're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes. Kellis Robinett will swing on by to talk all things K-State. And then Paul Carr, guru of minutia, True Media.
Does Paul enjoy that nickname you've given him?
I think so. I'm telling you, Paul's one of the smartest people I've ever met.
It's apropos. Like, after talking to Paul, it's apropos. But I just started wondering man, you've kind of just given him that, and I wonder what Paul's feelings towards that.
I didn't give him that name. Bruce did. Bruce did. Everybody remembers Bruce here if you listen to this airwaves. No, he did.
Okay.
He's been dubbed the guru of minutia for...
Okay.
What was it? I'm going to say 20 years.
Well longer than I've been around.
Yeah. We got a lot to get to. Hit us up on the Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, search Sports on 580. Our Twitter handle, Sports on 580. Interact, let us know. Leave something in the comments for the YouTube page as well. From the Big O Tires text line, come on, Jake, why do you got to hate on SBU? We were awful, but we already know. Look, we try to be honest on this show.
We're very honest.
We are not giving hot takes that, Skip Bayless and all of them throw out there. What we say, we believe, which is also why we have a segment on Fridays where we're like, on second thought,
we were wrong.
We were wrong on that one. That is not hating towards SBU. It's not. It's more so that I cared more about other games. So I apologize to an SBU alum, just to let you know. So didn't mean that. Want to start today by discussing the Chiefs and their roster. And this goes back to kind of like where what this roster is all about. And a lot of people at the beginning of the year said this: the Buffalo Bills have the best roster in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best roster in the NFL, right? That's what we've heard a lot. Those are the two best rosters in the NFL. Well, ESPN came out with their top 25 under 25. All right. Micah Parsons is number one. Not a surprise. He's only 23 years old, and he is an absolute monster at 23 years old. Justin Jefferson is 23 years old. Jamar Chase is 22. Okay. So I went through this whole entire thing, right? How many Chiefs are on this list?
I'm going to assume a big fat 0.
0. Not one. Which is interesting because Rashawn Slater, who hasn't played much this year, is listed at number 7.
Centers do not get the value that they should in the NFL. That is my take.
So,
because Creed should be on this list.
Now, there are some honorable mentions. He is one of them as an honorable mention.
One of the best centers in football.
So, the reason I bring this up is that the Chiefs don't have a superstar who is young. They don't. Otherwise, they'd be on this list.
Their superstar is 26.
Yes.
And 32? I can't remember Trav's age at this moment in time.
Mahomes is
26. Or is he 27?
He's 27. He turned 27 last month.
He's 4 months older than me, so he's 27 by now.
Yeah, he's 27.
I always, trust me, it is ingrained in my brain that he's 4 months older than me because that's what I compare myself to.
Kelsey is 33.
33 is a year behind.
But they don't have a superstar young guy. But when I look at what they have, they've got solid players who would start on a majority of other teams.
Which is a good building block.
And that's not just a good building block, but that gives you no giant weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
When you look at it, like let's go with everyone young over the last 3 drafts, okay? Creed Humphrey, he would start for damn near.
He's a starting center on 31 other teams.
Outside of, I'd say maybe 2 or
30, 3. 29, yeah.
Or
you'd probably start Corey. Yeah, Corey Linsley would still get there.
But 25 would take Creed Humphrey.
Hands down.
Yeah. 25 teams would take Trey Smith.
Yeah. Really good guard.
I think, and I'm projecting a little bit, I think Sky Moore on other teams would see a lot more reps. But he's not going to because of this reason. One, you've got 2 other wide receivers who are veterans who are above him, and he's a rookie. I think in another place, Sky Moore would be playing a lot more. And the reason I point this out is the guy who was taken the pick before him, George Pickens. George Pickens is in every single snap. Why is George Pickens playing in every single snap?
Because the Steelers wide receiver room sucks.
They only have one other good wide receiver in Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, their receiver room sucks.
Exactly. Huh. Exactly. So I put Sky Moore on that situation.
I'd agree with that.
Isaiah Pacheco, if you want to look at on the offensive side, I think he'd be a backup somewhere. I do. But
he would be back up on 31 of the rosters.
So I like that. All the young guys on this team. Now, Noah Gray is probably a backup somewhere.
Yeah,
I think he makes a roster
chunk of teams
somewhere
would take him
when it comes to that. So those are the younger guys on the offensive side of things. Look at defense. All right, no superstars who are young. Nick Bolton to me is not a superstar yet.
Not yet.
But
it's coming.
But right now he's not though.
No,
he's just a tackling machine.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of teams would take Nick Bolton.
Agreed.
I do. Is Nick Bolton like a Fred Warner? No. Because Fred Warner can play
coverage.
pass coverage.
Yeah.
Nick Bolton can't. But is Nick Bolton a bad player? No. Nick Bolton is a very good player who fits a need, because you got to have somebody to tackle people.
You need a solid tackler. You need a guy who runs fits well, and that's what he does.
And so Nick Bolton. Right now, Trent McDuffie is not an elite corner. He's not Pat Surtain because he hasn't played enough. But would I think a lot of other teams take Trent McDuffie? You bet I do. I really, really do. That might be the most, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow. McDuffie might be the most interesting matchup on Sunday.
Oh, I don't even think.
You know what I mean?
We'll get into it, but I don't even think it's a maybe.
But George Karlaftis.
Yeah.
I think George Karlaftis has been a serviceable rookie this year. I really,
among
really
the
do.
Tops in rookies and pressure.
Exactly. So I think a lot of other people would take.
Yeah.
But is he Micah Parsons?
No,
he's not. Jalen Watson. There are 31 other teams in the NFL who would take a 7th round rookie playing like Jalen Watson.
Yeah.
L'Jarius Sneed. Now he's 25 years old, so he's not on this list. There are 31 other teams who would take L'Jarius Sneed. But is L'Jarius Sneed, as we talked about this on Monday, is L'Jarius Sneed a top shelf corner? No, he's not. But he's
pretty damn good.
He'd start for 31 other teams.
Yeah.
Willie Gay, I think same kind of situation. Yeah. So they don't have any elite guys. But that right there in the last 3 drafts, that's 9 guys who I think would play. Now, if you want to say Pacheco, maybe not. That's 9 guys that would play other places. On almost every other team, they would be playing.
Yeah.
And so that is something that when you find the quarterback, and he's your elite guy, you can go elsewhere. And that's why you can build in other aspects. This is incredible, folks. And this is why Patrick Mahomes is leading the MVP race. We've talked about this a lot. Narrative matters. The Kansas City Chiefs lead the NFL in points per game, yards per game, yards per play, and third down percentage this year. The last team to lead all 4 of those at 11 games through the season, the 2001 Rams, dubbed as the greatest show on turf. And the Chiefs got rid of a top 3 wide receiver. You've got an elite guy in Kelce. I'm not underselling that.
It helps.
I am. But as we talked about, trading Tyreek allowed you to get McDuffie. It allowed, or Karlaftis, however you want to, put it together.
Well, it was the McDuffie pick that got moved up for. It was the Dolphins pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
You got McDuffie. You got Carlos Dunlap. You got Juju Smith-Schuster. You got, you're able to spend money elsewhere and get somebody like Trent McDuffie. You don't need elite guys if your quarterback's the guy, because they're leading in every most important category on offense in points per game, yards per play, and third down. The last team to do that this far through the season was 21 years ago when you had elite guys, okay? Look at that Rams offense. Rather than, look back on that, what a juggernaut that was.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame quarterback in Kurt Warner. Torrey Holt, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Isaac Bruce, Hall of Fame. Marshall Faulk, you could argue, might be one of the greatest 3-down running backs in the history of the NFL. Orlando Pace, one of the Hall of Fame left tackle. Like that right there is what there should be.
Five Hall of Famers?
That's 5 Hall of Famers if they elect Torrey Holt into the Hall of Fame. Go look at Torrey Holt's numbers. The guy was incredible.
Yeah, he was.
The Chiefs right now have 2.
Yeah.
It is Mahomes and Kelce. That's it.
And
they're putting up numbers with Juju and MVS and Tony and Hardy and Hardman and all of that. So you don't need the elite guys if you've got that special guy at quarterback. And that sounds bad because you do have an elite guy in Travis Kelce, but same thing on defense. The Chiefs have one elite guy on defense. That is it. No other elite guys, whether they are above 25, above 45, whatever. Does not matter. They have one. It's Chris Jones. But everyone else on that team. Here's the list of guys where I consider below average. Nobody's below average at wide receiver because of Mahomes.
Yeah,
because
he makes them all good.
Yeah, he makes them all good. Andrew Wiley, below average. I don't think. But if you even want to call him average, I can understand.
I would go with average more than below, but I get your point, though. I do agree.
Wide receivers, none. Tight ends, none.
No.
I think Noah Gray and I think Fortson are fine. Cornerbacks, I don't think any of them are below average.
That is 5 solid corners.
The three that play the majority in Snead, McDuffie, and Watson, I think they are all average or above.
Agreed.
I think Thornhill is a bit below average.
With the way he's played this year, yeah.
Right? Linebacker, I don't. I think all of them are average or above. And then D-line, I think Noddy's a little bit below average, and I think Saunders is. Right now, hey, low-key, guys, Frank Clark has the most pressures in the last 2 games of any pass rusher.
Frank is being what you need to be.
You've got Chris.
And we take a lot of shots at him on this show.
You got Chris Jones. You've got Dunlap. You've got a rookie in Karlaftis.
You got Mike Dana playing well.
None of those guys are they stars? No.
But they get the job done.
But they get the job done. And that is a credit to me to this team. But no young superstars. But man, there are a lot of teams that would die to have a Trent McDuffie, a Jerry Snead, a Creed Humphrey, a Nick Bolton, I'm probably missing somebody here, a Trey Smith, or a Jalen Watson. Like you would want those guys. Coming up, the Chiefs sign a defensive tackle. What does that mean? We'll get to that coming up next. Hear from Andy Reid coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll hear from Mahomes in the 1 o'clock hour, and we will talk with Kellis Robinett on all things K-State coming up at 1:30. The Chiefs, though, did sign Brandon Williams, the longtime Ravens defensive tackle. He was a free agent, hadn't played yet this year. He'd been waiting for the right opportunity to sign, and he is signed with the Chiefs practice squad with the idea of going to the active roster. Brandon Williams, Missouri Southern alum. He was a monster at Missouri Southern. Oh boy. Number 55, I believe, for Missouri Southern. He destroyed everybody. But he is a run stuffer. He is. That's his job.
Yeah, he is.
And I wonder if this isn't towards the end of the year. Derek Nottie, you ain't getting the job done. We're bringing in either Danny Shelton or Brandon Williams. I think Saunders has held his own. I do.
I agree.
But with the loss of Wharton going down and they're playing Chris Jones on the edge a little bit more, I think this is let's shore up the running game. Because there's three teams in the NFC that I think can get to the Super Bowl right now. That is the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the 49ers. All three of those teams, what do they do really, really well?
They run the football.
So if you want to do that,
Chiefs are getting those big boys in the middle.
you got to get ready for that, because I think that's what you look at. In the AFC, the Bills don't really run it. You know, the Browns, I don't think are going to make the playoffs.
If you got to face the Titans again, you wouldn't mind some more bodies than they'll do with Derrick Henry.
And because Nottie's only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
These guys right now in Williams and Shelton are super cheap because you can bring them up to the active roster and you prorate it, so it's not going to take a whole lot of. Maybe they just say, "Hey, look, you're better than Nottie." Coming up, we're going to hear from head coach Andy Reid. Reid met with the media today. A few of the KU or the Chiefs as well. Patrick Mahomes and Reid. Justin Reid said, "Yeah, we know Jamar Chase is going to play." So they even know that he is going to be playing coming up on Sunday. But head coach Andy Reid met with the media, gave a little injury update, all of that. Here is what Big Red had to say.
All right. As far as injuries go, Juju's sick today, so he won't be there. McKinnon has a hamstring strain. He won't practice today. And then Tony is getting better, but won't practice today. Everybody else will be out there rolling. Look forward to the challenge of playing Cincinnati. We know they're a heck of a football team. And we'll start today getting ready for them. So it'd be good to get on the practice field. With that, time's yours.
Coach, I know you try to put games away from the past, but you guys had a couple of tough ones against them last year. A few months ago, I remember Chris talking about it. These are the kind of games that drove him in the offseason. Does it drive you when you play a team like this again with last year?
Well, it was the last game of the year, so I mean you remember the game and they did some good things, against us, and so I'm not saying it drives you, but you go back and you evaluate the game, yeah.
What do you see differently out of last year? I mean, Jamar Chase maybe plays this weekend, but what do you see differently that they've done this year as opposed to when you played twice last year?
Yeah, well, they're doing a good job. I mean, it's kind of the same stuff they've been doing. They've got most of their guys back. They're playing at a high level. The games that they have lost, they lost just by a few points, with the exception of the Browns. And it's very, very similar. Good, solid football, both sides of the ball and special teams.
And when you look back at last year, how the second half kind of, I wouldn't say confused you, but took you for a loop, if you will. But how much did you learn from that game that you took into this year, knowing like the lessons learned from that game? How much could you take into this year, knowing that the defense they played was something that kind of caught you off guard? You've been able to do pretty successfully this year.
Yeah, and they played the first half too, so a little bit, but they did a good job with it. I mean, that's what they did. They they dropped 8 and played man coverage and had a thief player rolling around in there, and they executed well, better than how we did. We didn't do very well with it, so they got us on, but we've worked on it. I'm sure they've worked on new things, and we'll see how it goes.
And there were guys before and after the Tampa Bay game that made it very clear how much what happened in the previous game motivated them for that contest. Similar opportunity, obviously, this Sunday. How do you manage when guys are already motivated because of the previous game, but not trying to lose sight of how things may change in this matchup?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it was the last game. So you love to have an opportunity to play them and do better than what we did. I mean, that's for sure. If something motivates you, that's kind of it. But you also know you got to play within yourself and do the things that you know are right and be able to don't get so high that you can't execute. So that's the trick there.
Andy, Patrick said that he mentioned, or I guess it was just after Sunday's game, he mentioned that his lesson from that game was to close out games. I'm wondering if throughout a season you use a game like that and sort of remind the guys of something like that.
Yeah, well, each one of these things is a learning lesson, right? Win or lose. You come out and you spend all these hours dissecting what you could have done better. And it doesn't matter the game. So you're taking lessons out of each game. This one was, with for Pat, that's what it was, what he said. So, but everybody's got that. Chris said, I missed a sack. Bolton said he had 2 interceptions that he dropped. I look in the mirror and I go, there's some calls I would have liked to have had back. Right? I mean, so everybody has that. As long as they're willing to admit it, you have a chance to get better. And that's kind of the thing you try to do.
Coach, catching the ball has always been, with your running backs. You even said one time, if you're going to be a running back on this team, you got to catch the ball. We hadn't really seen that out of Pacheco. We saw it this week. I mean, he's a young guy, right? Obviously, It's a work in progress, but how's that coming along, and how satisfying was it to see him, make an impact with that?
Yeah, so I mean, he's got really good hands. He just hasn't had that ton of opportunity, but he will. As time goes on here, he'll get more opportunities to catch the ball. He did a nice job on that one for sure.
You and Eric talked about him having patience. We can see how hard he wants to hit the hole, but maybe he needs to be a little more read what's going on. Is that magnified even more in the passing game with some of the option routes and different ways you guys do things? That wherever he is as a runner, maybe he's even that much further back as a receiver.
No, he's done good with that. He actually does well with the routes and his patience on that. The running is getting better. I mean, he's getting better at that. He is extreme. He's got some kind of energy now. I mean, if I had that energy, I'd be 110 pounds. I mean, I want to borrow something. So he's unbelievable that way, how he plays. And he's that way every day. I mean, that's how he's out of practice and everything else. We've got quite a motor.
Running backs. Melvin Gordon signed to the practice squad. When you sign a former 2-time Pro Bowler to the practice squad, what are you hoping to get out of him as down the stretch of the season?
Yeah, well, we'll just see. And that's kind of the way we explain it to him. We'll see where this thing goes and where he's at and where the running back situation goes. But he sure has been a heck of a player in the league. I mean, one thing we do know is we know him, and whether he's with the Chargers or, with Denver. So we know what kind of player he is. And so, maybe there's a time here he can help us too. So, we'll take all comers. If you had some game left in you, we'd bring you over, Herbie. Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah, we'd bring you over. Yeah.
Coach, you briefly mentioned the Chris Jones almost sack, and maybe that's the biggest difference defensively for you guys this year. You've exceeded the sack total. Just how much confidence can that give you going into a game where you're getting home this year?
Yeah, we've done better in that area. We're finishing sacks. This kid is unique that we're playing. I mean, he's strong in the pocket, and So it presents another challenge. And, our guys will work on that this week and make sure that they have a plan for that.
Couple more guys.
Andy, you also added Brandon Williams to the practice squad,
Yes.
or going to. Was there a need for a player like that, or you guys just see a good player and say, let's bring him in?
Yeah, good. I'd tell you a good player. He and Joe Cullen have
Yeah, right.
history. So Joe speaks very highly of him and still thinks he can contribute. So he's been doing it a long time. But we welcome that. He's a great kid and good football player.
We'll go last for goes to Rim.
Coach Patrick, obviously welcome the new addition to the family. I know it's his first. That's any of us who've had kids know the first one was the big jolt, right? So he's probably a little more prepared for it. But does that take away, preparation time with all that going on?
Yeah, no, he stays pretty focused on job at hand. He's got a great wife that gets all that. She was an athlete too. So, bronze, I love it. Bronze. Patrick Mahomes the third, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. So bronze, I think, is in good hands, and the players all got on Patrick that, if they play long enough, they'll have another quarterback here.
Last two. Little news yesterday. You guys got flexed out of prime time to earlier in the day next week against Denver. Probably doesn't break your heart to get home a little bit earlier and get some prep work on. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I was okay with it. Yeah, I was okay. I have no decision making part of that, but or for that, but I'll take it.
Last one, Sam. And sorry to bring the Cincy thing again, but when the game is the last game of the year, I guess you don't have the full next week to sort of go over the things you're mentioning. So does it pop up this year, or do you just assume that the lesson was ingrained last year?
Yeah, you're saying with the players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just with you talking to the players, anything of that nature.
Yeah, well, I come in and look at the tape, and then I talk to them, before they leave. Most of them saw it too, somewhere there, either on the plane ride back or soon after that with these iPads. I mean, they all have them. But we talked about it. Yeah, it was open conversation about it, and we knew what we needed to do to better ourselves for that situation. I mean, every game's different, so we're going into this same team, but they'll have something different for us. But if you use it to get better, then that's the objective. A lot of guys weren't here, so they just watch the tape and see what we did.
That is head coach Andy Reid. So he mentions about Cincinnati dropping 8, rushing 3. If you bring that up in a press conference, that specific detail, Andy Reid normally doesn't give you specific details. Andy Reid is a guy, kind of thing, just look at tape and do this, do that, find a way to get better, he's not the filibuster that Bill Snyder is, where someone would ask him a question and he would give you a 3.5-minute answer of nothing. He does that like a 30-second answer of nothing. But he actually said they drop 8, rush 3, a whole bunch, especially in the second half of that game, in the title game. The Chiefs are going to be aware of that. I bet you the Chiefs have had an offensive analyst and a defensive analyst who have combed through those two games more than any other game that they have done.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed. And they are going to have a whole new set of options, a whole new set of plays that they're going to run. I bet you during training camp, we didn't even know it, but they spent 2 full days in running plays against the defense of the Bengals. Bet you that occurred. And we know that because there have been players who tell us, yeah, we haven't run hardly any of those plays except for training camp. And we know that during training camp, they work on games against other teams. They have, this day is so-and-so. This day will be so-and-so. We know that because they've told us. But Andy Reid mentioning, they just drop 8, they're going to find ways. They are going to move the football against this Bengal team. I really, really do believe that. File it under the Chiefs apparently are the best rehab in all of the NFL.
Yeah, if you want to get healthy, just put the Chiefs on your schedule.
Because Jamar Chase is healthy. Just saw a video of Joe Mixon back at practice. He's like sprinting. You want to you want to feel better? Play the Chiefs after a game. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Did Mike Williams play this last Sunday when they held on and won?
I don't think so. I'm not confident. I don't think so. He might have.
By the way, I hope you took our advice and told you to bet on the Cardinals to cover, because they did. Cardinals +3. Anytime that the Chiefs, anytime the Chargers play after the Chiefs, they normally lay an egg. They almost did. Mike Williams he did not play. And if he did, he didn't get a target. And I'm guessing if Joshua Kelly's getting a couple targets, then
things going real bad.
Yeah, Austin Eckler got 15 targets.
Yeah,
he might lead the league in receptions.
Where is he at?
That's incredible. He caught 11 passes.
Where is he at in that leaderboard?
I just saw that. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Okay, Jake. We're gonna play a game here real quick. Where do you think Austin Eckler ranks in receptions amongst every single player in the NFL?
I pulled it up too.
Jake.
Well, I didn't know you were gonna play this game.
I told you I was looking it up.
Well, I was looking it up too to see if I could.
I beat you.
You did beat me. But let's play the game. I'm gonna get 100.
Where do you think he is?
I'm gonna guess in receptions he is 4th.
Wow, spot on there, Jake. Yeah. But for our listeners at home, it is very important to note Austin Eckler, the running back, is 4th in the NFL with 80 receptions.
That's remarkable.
He has 1 less reception than Justin Jefferson,
but yet
the wide receiver.
But yet Justin Jefferson has almost not triple, but
no, it's almost triple.
It's not, no, because he'd have to get to 1,500.
Oh, yeah, he's closer to 5 than he is to 4.
Yeah,
it's doubled.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Like,
he's averaging 6.2 yards per reception.
He has 80 catches.
Yeah.
He has the same amount of targets as Cooper Kupp. Now, granted, Cooper Kupp has played 2 less games because of injury, but still.
Cooper Kupp in 9 games has caught 75 passes.
Also absurd.
They had nobody else to throw
Austin
to.
Eckler is 7 catches behind Tyreek Hill for the NFL lead.
Yeah.
He is a running back.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Travis Kelce, 7th for those playing at home.
73 receptions ahead of Devontae Adams.
It's just funny. It's just wider in the top 10. Wide receiver, tight end. Oh, that's weird. Wide receiver, running back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then he has 80 receptions.
Yeah, that's banana.
Like, that's absurd.
Who leads the NFL in first down receptions?
That I don't know, and I don't have up in front of me. Or at least I didn't look at that part.
I do.
Is it Trav?
Tied with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that tracks. It feels every time Travis touches the ball, it's first down. So that's why I kind of thought he's got a lot of catches and feels like every single one's a first down or a touchdown.
Yeah, that's.
What's even more amazing is my last punt on Austin Eckler. This is only the 2nd most receptions he's ever had in a single season.
Yeah, but he's
on pace to smash it.
He's on pace to get like 9,000 receptions.
Yeah. But as of right now, he's still yet to break
700 yards.
He is still yet to break his career record for most receptions.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because in 2019, all Phillip Rivers did was throw him the ball. He said he was a running back and had 92 catches for 993 yards.
Who leads the NFL in fumbles as a wide receiver or tight end or running back?
Melvin Gordon.
Well, catching it though, like I think it's because it's under receiving fumbles. But the answer is Hunter Renfrow. And then
Got the
one of our
good fingers.
One of our favorites, tied for second with a bunch of people, is Nelson Aguilar. You know, and we was catching him.
Unlike Aguilar. Man was getting so much shade.
They were throwing babies out of a window because it was a burning building, and he references Nelson Aguilar while he's speaking to the media. It's still one of the greatest clips of all time. The building was on fire. We were trying to, we were throwing babies out of the window and catching them, and we was catching them, unlike Aguilar. Wow.
There are specific pieces of history that I like to reference for why Philly fans are truly different from any other creation on planet Earth.
Throwing batteries at Santa is one of them.
Throwing batteries at Santa is number one. I think shouting out Nelson Aguilar and throwing shade at him while discussing rescuing babies from a building.
A burning building! Saving their life!
Might be number two.
That's amazing.
Because those two things aren't connected. Like, you had to intentionally make that leap to bring him up. If you cared that, like, that's my favorite part of why I use that as one of my things why Philly fans are different, because there's no connection there. There's no like, oh, why that person had Aguilar or football on the brain. No, they were saving babies from a burning building. And his brain was like, I need to point out that Nelson Aguilar can't catch. Like,
hold on, we're going to play the audio.
We're going to find this. Like, give us a minute. We're going to find this.
I got it here.
You got it? Let me know you're ready to go.
Alrighty. Well, the problem is oh yeah, here we go. Ready?
Got you.
Fire trucks coming down the street. They was like in the far off distance or wherever like that. Smoke started getting worse. Then I seen a guy hanging out the window, screaming that his kids was in there and things like that. So I ran to the back door, see if it was open, and it was. I ran upstairs, and then I was greeted with smoke. I ran back downstairs. By that time, the ladder truck was pulling up, and ironically, then one of my old coworkers took the ladder off the truck, raised it up, and the assistant people go down. My man just started throwing babies out the window. We was catching it, unlike Aguilar and his mishaps. I like to put that out there.
That man took a shot at Nelson Aguilar on live TV.
No, let's hear that again.
Throwing babies out the window. We was catching it, unlike Aguilar and his mishaps. I like to put that out there.
I just thought that, unlike Aguilar and his mishaps, just let's put that out there.
That's amazing.
Like, brother, it's absurd.
In his moment of interviewing something heroic.
Yeah, something truly heroic that him and a bunch of other people were doing.
All he had on his mind were the Eagles and Aguilar.
Philly fans, they are truly a different breed.
Also, Nelson Aguilar, great guy because he actually got this dude tickets to an Eagles game.
Yeah.
Despite him throwing shade. Yeah. And this has been seen 500,000 times.
Nelson Aguilar, a certified good guy. Not good at catching footballs, but good guy.
Or apparently holding on to footballs.
Yeah, not good at that either.
We got a lot more to get to. That's still one of the greatest viral videos of all
makes me
time.
laugh.
It's just poor Nelson Aguilar. Coming up, we are going to hear from Kellis Robinett. We got Everyone Loves the List, and we're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes and Paul Carr going to join us to talk all things USA, Iran, and going forward against the Netherlands. We'll get to that coming up. It is hour number 2 here of Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Lon, along with Fulton Caster on this Wednesday afternoon. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know on Twitter at SportsOn580. That's SportsOn580. Also on YouTube. Check us out on our YouTube page where we've got all of our reactions, instant reaction to games, the broadcasts, all of that. You can listen to all the shows up on YouTube. Go to YouTube and then search Sports on 580. Click on it. Click the subscribe button. And you can interact with us as well on YouTube and in the comments section. Just let us know. We got Everyone Loves the List. We've changed our list today. We are now going to do it most underrated wide receivers. Because of
Nelson Aguilar.
Nelson Aguilar. We're going to go with underrated wide receivers. There are three of them that jump out to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to whittle down the fourth.
That's fair.
But three of them in my mind jump out to me. We will get to that coming up. Everyone Loves the List. We'll talk with Kellis Robinett coming up at the bottom of the hour. Late last night, news broke that the Kansas City Chiefs will not be playing a primetime game. They have flexed the game out. Do you know how bad your football team has to be to flex Patrick LeVon Mahomes II from primetime?
Incredibly horrible is what your team has to be.
I wonder if they were really thinking, should we do this? Should we do this? We've got Mahomes. Are you really wanting to take out that offense and that quarterback? They think that the Chiefs are going to destroy the Broncos. That's the reason this was a primetime game to begin with. Chiefs at Broncos. This is going to be a meaningful game in week 13. 14? 14?
14.
14. Yeah, because this is week 13. 14. Oh, this is a lock. And then Mr. Very Limited and Mr. Let's Ride decided to be terrible. But they're moving Patrick Mahomes from prime time. It'll be now a 3:05 start time. Incredible. Incredible. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, dad of two now. Once again, parallels. Patrick Mahomes, dad of two. I'm a dad of two. His are flipped. I had a boy first, girl second. He had a girl first, boy second. We both played college football. There's a lot of similarities. We're like best friends.
Sure, Jake.
In this,
I'm gonna let you have this.
The problem is that he's 26.
He's 27
or 20. Yeah, he's 27.
He's 4 months older than me. He's 27.
So we're not in the same demographic.
See, he and I are in the same demographic, but that's where the buck stops.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's an athlete. I'm not.
Yeah.
He's successful. I'm less successful. I won't say not. There's some success in my life. I'll take that.
He's not good at D&D.
Who knows? He could be fantastic. I don't know what he does in his private life.
I'm gonna go ahead and
he could play it a bunch. He probably doesn't. He seems more of a Warzone guy, and that group doesn't overlap too much. Let me tell you from personal experience.
But Patrick Mahomes did meet with the media, now dad of two. And here's what Patrick Mahomes had to say during his media availability today.
48 hours been for you, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's cool. Obviously, it's awesome to bring. Yeah, when me and Brittany, when we had Sterling, we didn't know if it was girl or boy at first, so we started thinking of girl and boys names, and we wanted obviously them to have that connection and them to be brother and sister forever. And so obviously I've always wanted to do Patrick LaVon Mahomes III. I've thought about that since I was literally like 5-6 years old. And I always thought it was going to be Trey as the third because you hear a lot of people doing that. And my brother Jackson, whenever we were trying to find something that was a little unique and different, he said, what about bronze? It fits perfectly with Sterling. And we went with that. And I think it works out well. And he can have his own thing now where he's not Patrick, he's bronze. Even though he's Patrick, and then Sterling and Bronze can have that connection moving forward.
Patrick, how much do you think that meant to your dad, just to kind of keep that going?
Hey man, he was emotional for sure. I mean, my dad, as he's gotten older, has gotten a little bit more emotional. I think as all of us do. And he was here this weekend, so it worked out perfectly that my family got to see him before they left and went back to Tyler. And so it was cool to see him, and my grandpa was here and my grandma. On my mom's side, so I had a lot of family in, so it worked out perfectly that weekend.
The players were, Andy was saying about the players around you a little bit, just what was it like to introduce them to the players as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, just have my family and my teammates have always got along perfectly. I mean, you would think when you saw Travis and my dad, they were best friends, not me and him. So that's just the type of organization that we have here, the type of team that we have here. We're all family in this building, and whenever I connect my family to that, it seems like it's just one big family. I think that's what makes us such a great football team.
I don't want to kill the good vibes,
That's all good.
Anybody got any more family ones? Last year, obviously didn't go the way you wanted in that game. Like, how much has this game been circled on the calendar for you? Does it mean more than the other ones?
Yeah, I don't know if it means more. I think you got to keep stuff in perspective. It's a brand new football season. Obviously, anytime that someone beats you the year before, you want to beat them, especially in a game like they beat us in to go to the Super Bowl. And we understand it's a great football team that's playing great football right now. So we'll go out there and put our best effort forward and try to play our best football and try to get that win, because it's a big win in the season to try to hold that number 1 seed and win our division.
Patrick, how often does that game enter your mind?
Not really a lot. I mean, once the season ended and I wasn't in the Super Bowl and I had to watch it from the couch in my house in Texas, I kind of just moved on, knowing that you have to keep getting better. You have to keep kind of moving up forward. And if you want to have success that next season, you can't dwell on what happened the last season. You have to learn from it and just get better from it.
You mentioned after the game, one piece that you did learn from it was just finishing out games. So are there other tokens you've taken from that game, though?
Yeah, I mean, just whenever stuff's not going the perfect way, the way that we want it to go, just getting back to your fundamentals. I think that's what I kind of look back especially when I watched the tape this week, is I was really good in the first half of my fundamentals, and as the game kind of we weren't having success as an offense, my fundamentals got worse and worse. And so just whenever you get in those situations, just trying to get back to that, get back to your fundamentals and trusting in the game plan that coach is going to put us in the right position to succeed.
How much time have you guys spent working on what the Bengals did to you in the second half last year? Not just necessarily this week, but going back to camp or whatever.
I mean, not a ton. I mean, we work on all different type of coverages, and I mean, it wasn't like they did anything that was that much different from the first half than they did in the second half. They put a little bit more man coverage than they did in the first half. They made some adjustments of trying to be in the right spots. But at the end of the day, we have to execute at a high level, and I trust that our guys are going to win versus man coverage. And if I can execute and throw the ball in the right spot, we'll find ways to have success. So just kind of like I said, getting back to the fundamentals and getting back to just being who I am.
Their receiver Tyler Boyd compared you and Joe Burrow to the old Brady Manning rivalry. Just when you hear something like that and looking at Joe, just what a competitor is he compared to you guys and your little rivalry here?
Yeah, I mean, I have a ton of respect for Joe. I mean, he's a great football player, but he's a competitor. Like you said, I mean, those are the guys that win in this league, or guys that compete. And so, I mean, I hate to compare to Brady and Manning because they won so much and put up so many stats. And I feel like that's something that you do at the end of your career when they look back and see all the success that you have. But I know it's just like a lot of these guys. I know I'm going to play this guy for a long time. He's a great competitor, so he's going to be a great football team for a long time. And we're going to have games like this. And so I just try to go out there and win the week. And I know he does the same. And we see what happens at the end of the week, and you move on to the next.
Patrick, on a non-Bengals question, Patrick, I know early in the year you were talking about how much you thought maybe you would use your legs more as the season moves along. With the new receivers, I just wonder how much are you sort of anticipating getting out of the pocket a little bit more and obviously using that to your advantage?
Yeah, I honestly don't think about running until like I have to. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing, but I try to do whatever I can to throw the ball down the field. But with all the coverages that we're getting, and they're trying to take away guys and man coverages and putting people out there to stop all the receivers that we have, it's kind of opened up those lanes. Yeah, I just try to use them whenever it's there and not try to overdo it. I know they had a good plan last year where they were kind of spying me, the Bengals did, so I'll have to make sure I account for that as well. But it's just trusting your guys up front to protect, and then us making plays downfield, and I'll give those guys chances too.
Even with your fundamentals, is it still more fun to throw out of the pocket than the traditional 3-step, 5-step, and get it out of your hands?
I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've started to like throwing from the pocket more. So I don't know if it's just because I've gotten a little bit older and understand a little bit more. But when I was younger, I'd like to scramble around and make a ton of different throws, and I can still do it. But if I can throw from the pocket these days, I'm just going to throw it from there.
You mentioned not dwelling on things earlier. Sky Moore had a difficulty getting the drop on the punt, and you could hear the crowd kind of got after him a little bit. You guys on offense still went right to him. Is that something that you saw that and said, I'm going to get him into the game? He obviously had a very good game and catching the ball. Is that something you said? Does Andy say that to you? Is it Eric, somebody talking in your headset saying, let's get him involved and get the ball, or did it just work out that way?
I think it just worked out that way, but I think EB and Coach Reid do a good job of, whenever stuff like that happens, scheming up stuff or calling those plays that might have him as one of the primary options. I just go through my reads and throw it to the guys that are open. I mean, that's the thing in this team is we're not dwelling on that. We know the guys here are competing. They're doing whatever they can to put everything on the line. And if something happens bad, we know the next time you get a chance, you're gonna make a play happen. And that's what great teams do, and that's what great players do.
You mentioned Sam maybe losing some fundamentals at the end of the second half last year in that game. Is that something you feel while it's happening, or something you see on tape? Do you have any safeguards, someone watching to kind of give you a little cue to say, look out for this if that's happening during a game?
I think it's something that I've gotten better at recognizing as my career has gone on. I think when I get in some, I don't want to say slumps, but in some spots in games where my fundamentals go bad, I've tried to be better at fixing them quicker because those are things that I've taught myself now of how to recognize and how to get back to what do I think of to get back into the right fundamentals. And having guys like Chad Henne, Nagy, and all these guys that kind of been around me for a while now, they can kind of give me stuff, and they can, I don't want to say critique me, but they can tell me when I'm not doing something the right way so that I can get back to what we practice on all week. And that's something that I try to recognize as quickly as possible.
Like a little bit of a mound visit for
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, just having someone that can come out that you trust, that knows that they want you to play the best football possible, and they can just give you those little tidbits that can get you back into the rhythm of the offense.
Well, Harold, Sam, then Alex. Go ahead, Harold.
Patrick, this year with the Bengals, is there anything differently, or is it more of the same you see with the Bengals defense and what you're about to face this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good defense. It's a really good entire unit of defense. They're well coached. I have good players at every level, and they've played together now for a long time, so they do a great job of passing off stuff and zone coverages and man coverages, knowing where the other guy is to help. And so, I mean, they're a well-coached unit. We know it's a great challenge for us, and we're just going to go out there and try to execute at a high level. And it'll probably be a lot of tight window throws, and guys are going to have to make plays, and that's what happens when you play a great football team. It's just going to be a tightly contested game.
Patrick, I'm sure when you play any team, if you played them recently, you watch a lot of the film of the last matchup. What is that experience like, and does it differ based on how you play in that particular game?
I mean, you kind of learn from it in good and bad ways. I mean, you learn from the stuff that you did good, and you want to execute and do that stuff again. And then you see the stuff that you miss, and you obviously you're mad because you missed it, but you learn from that so you can hit it the next time. So the thing about us is we've started to play these teams now a lot now with a lot of these young quarterbacks from the league. You start playing the same teams. And so you learn from it. You make adjustments, they make adjustments, and then you go out there and make adjustments on the field. So it's a great challenge for both teams, and I'm excited for it.
After going back to off-season, preseason, if you can recall when you do have so many new faces in the receivers room, what are the most important things for you to do to help them get acclimated, to help them feel welcome here?
I think it's just you just talk to each other. You learn that relationship with the guys off the field, and then on the field you talk to them about how you like things ran. They talked about how they've ran them before. You learn from each other, then you go out there and execute at a high level. And I think that's what we've done. Is as the season's gone on, you see we're getting more and more chemistry because we've talked through the stuff, we talked to the mistakes, we talked to the positives, and we've learned how to keep evolving as an offense.
That is what Patrick Mahomes had to say about the Bengals. Does say it's an important game, but it's important because of certain reasons, not revenge stuff. Talked about his new boy, Patrick Lavon Mahomes III. Going to go by Bronze. Like, he can name his kid Bronze.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
I name my kid Bronze.
I'm smacking him upside the head.
Well, me, not my kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I said. Smacking you upside the head.
Okay, yeah. Because if you smack my kid upside the head, well, then
Oh,
I'm
no,
going to have
that's
to
too
smack
far.
you
That's
upside
rude.
the head.
That's
No,
rude.
I'm all right with that. I
No.
can't do that. Like,
No.
I don't have swag.
No, you don't.
Like, Mahomes has swag.
Neither do I. I couldn't name any of my children that.
He can't. So it works. It works.
It fits.
It fits. I think he's low key playing this, and I think they do think about that game more often than he admits, but you can't admit it.
Yeah.
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think
agree with that.
also Sky Moore has. Do you realize he's got 100 yards the last 2 games?
I did not.
Okay, 100 yards last 2 games. Technically 99, but we're going to call it 100. 63 and 39. So it's like reverse all that kind of stuff. And he's got 99 yards in 2 games. If you extrapolate that over the entire year, that's 850 yards. 850 yards, pretty good year.
Really good year.
He's just behind MVS, Juju, and Hardman.
Take him a minute to get to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Low in the curve.
That's why I'm actually a little bit more optimistic about next year for Sky Moore.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I am. I think not 130%, though. Just 100. I'm with you, though. I'm with you. Coming up next, everyone loves a list. In light of poor Nelson Aguilar. No, catch the ball. It ain't hard. Most underrated wide receivers. Is Aguilar on your list?
No.
Okay, just making sure. And then we'll hear from Kellis Robinett on all things K-State. Everyone loves the list. Topic today, most underrated wide receivers since 2000. Did I make your list?
You?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry,
That's
buddy.
all right. That's okay. That's
Sorry,
all right.
buddy.
That's all right. That's all right.
You can be an honorable mention.
Okay. Artie, what do you got? I'm interested in this. Do you think we're gonna have any overlap?
We might. I will say this. Some of my guys, you probably know who all these people are, so there's a lot of recognition all these guys have. For me, I don't think they're still recognized as great as they were when they were playing.
Okay.
So even if you might think, oh, they were great, I'm like, they're greater than you think. Number 4 for me is Demaryius Thomas. R.I.P. to Demaryius Thomas. When he was on a heater in the early 2010s, that man sat here and put together 5 straight seasons of 1,000 yards and almost 6 straight.
He was good.
He was really good.
He was good with Manning as his quarterback. Not without Manning, he was.
2016 without Peyton Manning, he had 1,000 yards. Peyton Manning retired for the 2015 season.
Yeah.
After that, some things came off with age and what have you.
Yeah.
2016 without Peyton Manning, he had 1,000 receiving yards.
My number 4, Donald Driver.
Okay.
Donald Driver.
I can see that.
Played from 99 all the way to 2012. He was 37 years old in his last year in the league. Donald Driver had 1,000 yards receiving in 7 of 8 years. 1,000 yards, 7 of 8 years. Now, Packers fans love Donald Driver. Nationally, I don't think he got the same love.
I think that's fair. I think it's very fair.
Okay.
Number 3 for me is Vincent Jackson. In any year that wasn't injury shortened, he had 1,000 yards receiving.
Okay.
If he was a 16-game starter and wasn't injury shortened, outside of 1 year, he had 1,000 yards.
Number 3 for me, shout out to Hofstra. Marquise Colston.
Facts.
He was very good. I mean,
yes.
He was almost rookie of the year. He finished second, but he caught 72 touchdowns in his career.
He did.
Very underrated for the Saints.
Numbers 1 and 2 for me, people might not agree that they were underrated, but I think they don't get the value they deserve no matter what accolades you will ever throw at them. Number 2 for me is Steve Smith Sr.
Okay, I think
I don't think he's properly valued.
He was really good.
And that's a personal opinion.
I think he was.
I don't think he's properly valued overall. That's just personal opinion.
Number 2 for me, Doug Baldwin of the Seahawks. Doug Baldwin, when they were winning, he was the main reason why. He caught 50 touchdowns in his career.
He did. Number 1 for me is kid's not in the Hall of Fame yet. Torrey Holt. How is he still not in the Hall? I'm sorry. That's the underrated part to me.
I think
Put him in the Hall.
I think he will. Number 1 for me, Derek Mason. Derek Mason caught 800 yards when he was 36 years old. Derek Mason of the Titans and the Ravens. Derek Mason was awesome. Coming up, we're going to talk with Kellis Robinett. Talk with Paul Carr of True Media Sports on all things World Cup soccer. Team USA advancing to the knockout round. We'll get to that coming up in the 2:00 hour. We'll talk more a little KC Chiefs and no superstars, but there's no busts either. We'll get to that when it comes to the Chiefs roster. But right now, we are going to talk all things K-State athletics with Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Follow him on Twitter at Kellis Robinett. And Kellis, before we get to some K-State discussion, I have to ask you, how are you going to watch the World Cup on Saturday? I know you're you like the World Cup. You're a soccer guy, at least from what I follow on social media. It's at 9:00. Big 12 title games at 11. Will you watch it like on your laptop, or you know what, you just won't be able to?
Well, AT&T is a pretty new state-of-the-art stadium, and last time I was in the press box, they had quite a few TVs with the capability to change channels. So I'm thinking I'll probably spend my pregame, watching a little soccer, watching a little warm-up. And my hope is the game does not go to overtime or especially penalty kicks. It's over in a nice, convenient 2 hours, win or lose. You just go ahead and shift your focus to K-State football, the game that really matters that day. But if it goes into overtime, I might have to pull something up on my computer. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Would you consider yourself a soccer fan? Like you like the World Cup maybe a little bit more than most?
Yeah, I think so. I'm actually wearing a U.S. soccer hat right now, so that goes to show you a little something. This particular World Cup, I've been a little less enthused about just because it's in the fall.
Correct.
And then we got football, basketball competing with it. I like it better when it's in the summer and there's nothing else going on. It's only once every 4 years, and you sit down and watch every single game. But yeah, no, I like World Cup in the past when it's been in Japan or some weird countries. I've been known to stay up until like 2 or 3 to watch the games.
I like it. No, we're in the same boat. We are. Hate it that it's right now. Otherwise, I love the World Cup. I cannot wait for 26. I want to go to multiple games. I'm very, very excited for that. Let's get to the Wildcats and the Sunflower Showdown. The score at one point in time could have been a 1-possession game late if Fairchild actually can catch the football. But yet, did you really feel like KU was in it in that game?
Yes and no. I would say that I thought it was the most competitive Sunflower Showdown game I've covered since I started on the Kansas State beat in 2009. I know there was one other time where it actually legitimately did go down to the wire, and Kansas State needed Alex Delton and Alex Barnes to win the game on the final drive. But, that really wasn't anything to do with Kansas being good. That was Bill Snyder's last year, and the team was just down. I think that's why that game was competitive.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Kansas State is a top 10 team. Kansas is bowl eligible. I think they came in and actually played a good game. It's a testament to how much Lance Leipold has improved that team over the last 2 years. Because think about it, if they don't just shoot themselves in the foot with some of those mistakes, if they don't drop a punt right in front of their own goal line, if they don't hold in their own end zone, if they don't try to run out a kick from their own end zone and get called for an illegal block and get backed up in front of their own goal line. It's funny because all these mistakes happen on special teams. The credit for Kansas State for being good at it, Kansas not being. But if they actually jump on a punt and don't let it go 72 yards to pin them in horrible field position, those mistakes are at least 14 points there. Remove those from the score, and it's a much closer game. I still think Kansas State would have won. Push comes to shove, because when you saw every time Kansas made it close, like one time they're down I don't remember exactly what the score is, but it's close. They got Kansas State in the third and long. Oh, here we go. Maybe they got a chance to get the ball back. 80-yard pass from Will Howard to Deuce Vaughn, keeping them at arm's length. It was kind of that way all game. Every time a big play needed to be made, either Kansas bungled it or Kansas State stomped on their throat. So I don't really know that the Wildcats were in danger of losing. But if you do take away the boneheaded mistakes, I think that game goes down to the wire.
And that's why I look at, in the second half, KU scores 6 points. Like, you felt like the game was closer, but they scored 6 points in the final 30 minutes of the game. Like, I think that's a testament to the K-State defense to hold them to just one touchdown in a half of football.
Yeah, testament to Kansas State offense, testament to Kansas State defense, and also testament to Kansas State's running game, because with the way that game was unfolding, it's raining, it's cold. That second half, you could tell they didn't want to give Kansas any life. Let's just run the ball and get out of here. Let's play defense, move on to the Big 12 championship game. They were able to do it, and for as much as Kansas has improved this season, they still don't really have the ability to do that to teams. Kansas does, and that just shows you, even though Kansas, I do think, has been better this season, Kansas State is making those winning plays. They know their identity. When push comes to shove, they can go out and make a big play. And that's why ultimately the game was decided by 20 points instead of 3.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Kansas State definitely flexed its muscles in the second half. Kansas in that fourth quarter just unable to keep up.
We're talking with Kellis Robinett, covers the Wildcats for the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. All right, before we get to the TCU Big 12 title game, K-State right now is ranked 10th in the college football rankings. They are ranked 10th. Texas is ranked 20th. According to at least what I have found, the team with the highest ranking in the college football poll that doesn't go to the playoff goes to the Sugar Bowl. Is there any way that K-State falls below Texas if they lose?
Well, so I with the help of let's just say smart. With the help of a smart follower on my social media yesterday, I discovered that it really does not matter what the final CFP rankings are for the Big 12. It's a little weird. It's confusing. I was of that same belief that Kansas State needed to avoid like a 150-point loss in this game to stay ahead of Texas. Turns out that's not true. That is the rule that applies for the SEC if they need to take a team that's below them in the playoff. In the Big 12, the rule goes for finding a replacement team. It goes to the number 2 team in the standings, in the regular season standings. So whoever had the best record at the end of the regular season is the team that goes. That's Kansas State. They had the better overall record. They had the better conference record than Texas. So they are going to the Sugar Bowl no matter what, unless the only 2 scenarios in which they would not go to the Sugar Bowl are if TCU wins and somehow the playoff committee says, you know what, we don't like TCU anymore. They're out. They're not going to the playoff. In that scenario, they would not go to the Sugar Bowl. Or if Kansas State won that game so convincingly that despite their 3 losses, they somehow. Those are the only 2 scenarios that I've found. Otherwise, it's Kansas State Sugar Bowl no matter what.
Well, I don't if TCU goes undefeated and beats K-State, like they're in, they're in the playoff.
No, I agree. But I was speaking to the Alamo Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl both sent representatives to the Kansas State KU game, which was kind of a wasted trip. They're not going to get them. But I was speaking to these bowl reps after the game, and I said, is there any chance you think you can still get Kansas State? And one of them actually said, yes, I do think there's a remote chance. We've seen it before. The playoff committee seems to hate TCU. So if by some reason they said you're not going to make the playoff even undefeated, in that case, we would seriously consider Kansas State. But I mean, come on, that's not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, and I want to make sure to, educate as many people now, including myself, because that is how the SEC does it. That's why right now, if K-State plays in the Sugar Bowl, then they play Alabama, not LSU, even though LSU is playing for the SEC title, because Alabama is going to be now if LSU beats Georgia, then they would face LSU, but that's not going to happen. So I'm not worried about that. So, all right, let's get to the game. How much different is this game against TCU than the previous one down in Fort Worth?
Well, I think it's different for a few reasons. For starters, Kansas State's going down there with their best quarterback starting the game, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt and you're playing Jake Rubley. They're going down there with their best kicker as their starter. Remember, that was before they made the switch to Ty Zentner that game. They missed 2 field goals, lose by 10 points, made a big difference. Now they're going down there with a guy who's been 8 for 8 on field goals, been killing it on punts lately. So, maybe that's not the biggest difference in the world, but I think it's something that you're going down there with 2 players who've been red hot lately. They're going to be starting. Then on the flip side, Kansas State's going to be down 2 key safeties on defense. TCU is a little bit healthier than more full strength. The big change I think in this game is just what are the defenses going to do after seeing each other once in the season? When we don't get much of a chance to witness this in college football, I can't tell you. I've never seen Kansas State play the same team twice in the season since I've been watching them. It's going to happen now. All I can say is that when we see it in the NFL in those games where they're divisional rivals playing for the second time, scoring tends to be down. So maybe we won't see a game go over 60. Maybe the winner in this game only gets into 20s. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Do you think that this K-State pass offense, because when Howard was in there, now I say that because when Howard got in there in the first quarter against TCU, he lit them up and then got hurt. This TCU pass defense has been able to be passed on. The last couple of games, they're facing teams that can't throw the football. Quinn Ewers cannot throw the football. Blake Shapen cannot throw the football. But Will Howard definitely can. Do you think this game is going to ride on Will Howard's right arm?
It could. It really could. I hadn't really considered it in that way. But, yeah, he opens up everything, and you saw that when he got in there against TCU. First drive of the game was Adrian Martinez. They only let him get for 1 first down. They punt. Will Howard comes in there, starts chucking the ball. 4 straight touchdown drives. Totally different way of doing things. Opened up a lot of other opportunities for the Wildcats. It really would have been interesting to see if Howard would have stayed healthy that whole game, how things would have transpired. If you don't have Rubley in there throwing an interception. I guess that's the beauty of having a rematch. You'll get to find out. But I absolutely think that Will Howard could win this game on the strength of his arm. The only thing I'll say, though, is that Deuce Vaughn has been so good lately. He was so good against Kansas last week. I think he's going to have to do a little bit of something, too. But yes, Howard could definitely be the hero here.
Defensively, how does K-State match up against Quentin Johnson, who apparently is as healthy as he's ever been this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. We saw the first time around, they did pretty good against him. The one big, long touchdown catch he had was when Julius Brents was on him, but cramped up in the middle of the play. And that's where Johnston, whatever his name is, I'm sorry, got separation, he got the touchdown. I'm not thinking that's going to happen again indoors in a controlled weather environment. So maybe they shut him down a little bit more, but also we didn't see them trying a whole lot of screen passes in that game, which has really worked for them in other situations. The reason for that was Kansas State couldn't stop Kendre Miller, their running back. He had 153 rushing yards and a couple touchdowns in that game. So you kind of got to pick your poison with TCU. If you can't stop the run, they can beat you with explosive plays. If you hang back and play 2 high safeties, try to take away their explosive passing game, they'll grind away at you on the ground. So I don't envy defensive coordinator Joe Klanderman this week, even though it's a rematch and you to learn a few things. That's not an easy offense to go against. I know Iowa State maybe didn't have a lot to play for, but I am still just in shock that they scored 62 on them. I mean, nobody else in the conference could score like 14.
Do they get the win? Can they beat K-State twice? Does the dream season and Max Duggan's legacy at TCU he gets free beer every time he goes to, the Schollmeyer Arena when they see Max Duggan? How do you think this works?
Oh, man. That's a great question. I would probably lean yes. TCU just kind of strikes me as a team of destiny. That's not to say that Kansas State can't or won't pull off the upset. Spread's only 3 points here. If they come out and play their A game, they can absolutely win. I'm not trying to say that they won't, but I mean, goodness, how many times have we seen TCU in a position where we thought, hey, this might be the time they lose? They find a way to do it, whether it's been by, running their kicking unit on the field on 4th down and 15 seconds to kick a field goal. If it's knocking 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks out of the game to face a decimated offense, they keep just finding ways to win these close games. And the reason I probably lean a little more TCU than Kansas State is that they've been such a good second half team all season. They've come back on people. That's when they impose their will. Kansas State, the last couple games when they've looked so good on defense, it's been because they make adjustments on offenses that really weren't all that good. And they just, like we said earlier, flex their muscles on KU, West Virginia. I don't know that they can totally do that against TCU. And the Horned Frogs have been in closer games. As good as Will Howard has looked, he hasn't had to go on a game-winning drive here yet. So that's probably why I would favor TCU, but I haven't totally made up.
All right, 2 for the road. Last 2 questions I've got for you. Are you surprised that K-State basketball is 6-0 right now?
I am. I'm not fainting about it, but I did not think they'd be 6-0. I thought when they were down double digits against LSU, I thought for sure they were going to lose that game with Keontae Johnson in foul trouble, Naquan Tomlin not score, and it sure looked like they were going to lose playing their 3rd game in 3 days. But, man, Jerome Tang found a way to get them going. They win it there, and now they can go to 7-0 tonight at Butler. I'm surprised, but, hey, kudos to them. They are playing ahead of schedule. They're good.
Alrighty, we named our most underrated wide receivers in the NFL of the 2000s. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you give me an underrated K-State football player since you have been covering this team. Who has not gotten the love that they should get?
We talking about this year or ever?
Since you've been covering the team, so since you've really known this team, so since 2009.
Yeah, well, 2 names come to mind. I would say my number one pick would probably be Jake Waters. It's kind of hilarious to me that there are people who still think that Daniel Sams should have played over him. I like Daniel. He was a good quarterback, but my gosh, Jake Waters threw for more yards in a single season than any other quarterback in school history. It's pretty good. Got Kansas State to 9 wins the senior. Again, pretty good. Led him to back-to-back bowl games, one of them. Pretty good. It kind of amazes me that there's some fans out there who just think that, he never should have even played. And then the other one I would go with more recently, this is in my head because I saw him at the game the other day, Dalton Schoen, walk-on from the Kansas City area. Everybody, including Bill Snyder, kind of made fun of him for being this kind of slow white kid out there, receiver. He's kind of always had to fight for respect. But he went off to the CFL this year, broke every receiving record on his team. He was the leading receiver in the CFL. So I love seeing that he was able to go out there and do that.
Kellis, as always, we appreciate the time. Safe travels down there to AT&T Stadium and enjoy the World Cup. Hopefully it gets done and Team USA wins 1-0, and then you watch the Cats.
Yeah, me too. Let's root for that 90-minute game.
Yes. That is Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. We'll talk a little World Cup soccer coming up to start the 2 o'clock hour with Paul Carr here as you're listening to Mic'd Up. Final hour of Mic'd Up on this Wednesday, a chilly Wednesday here. But as we found out, Fulton, on how I view life, starting tomorrow, it can be cold. It can be cold.
You're finally willing to let the beauty of cold weather into your
no,
soul?
it is not beauty at all.
Yeah,
it's awful and terrible.
No, it's not.
But it's December.
Yes. We're about to hit December. It's great.
Cold. It gets cold. We
Yes.
live in a area
We get 4 seasons
of the world,
just like the hotel.
Of the earth, that it gets cold in December, January, and February.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't want the cold. Go away. So I can live with it. Bring on the snow. I am ready for it.
I would like the snow not to be here until Monday at the earliest.
So we got that.
Once Monday hits,
happening.
Snow can return.
We got a lot to get to in this hour. As always, hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on Twitter at SportsOn580. You can go to YouTube and watch the show and everything with all the instant reactions to high school games, KU, K-State, the Sugar Bowl coming up, Washburn games, all of that, Chiefs games, all on our YouTube page. Go to YouTube and then type in Sports on 580, Sports on 580. Click subscribe, and you'll get all of those as we try to get you up to date on the reaction of the sports world. But the sports world is coming from the Middle East and Qatar, as the Team USA advancing out of the group stage. They take on the Dutch. Never liked clogs. Honestly, what have the Dutch given the world? We will talk about that in a little bit, but right now we bring on Paul Carr, the Senior Director of Content at True Media Sports. He is the guru of minutia. He knows more about soccer than you do. Paul, did you think USA was going to beat Iran?
Yes. I think that's the answer I gave you about them getting out of the group. I thought so, but I was kind of afraid to get my hopes up. I think I was emotionally hedging, trying not to put myself out there too much. But now they're out of the group stage. Now it's gravy. Now we're on a free roll.
Should we be talking about how Team USA was the better team in 5 of the 6 halves in that, maybe 4 of the 6, if you want to say the last half of the game against Iran, they were better, but USA was better in both halves against England, had a draw.
Yep.
They were better in 1 of the halves against Wales. Like,
Wales.
should we be talking more about how this is a really good showing in the
Yeah.
World Cup, despite, the history of USA is not great?
I mean, there is something to the fact that the U.S. is just playing well and playing organized. Because I think we talked, a week or two ago about how there's only a week between the club season and the World Cup, so teams have a lot less prep time. And I was reading a couple articles. They were coming from Europe today, and they were just using the U.S. as an example of, look, this team has a plan. They're executing the plan. It's not perfect, of course, because stuff happens, but things are going well, and they look more organized, structured than most of the teams do right now. And that's a credit to the coaches and the players. So
what has been the best part of this team?
I mean, I think the best part is the defense. Like, they're not giving up a ton of great opportunities. It's not like they're holding on for dear life at some point, at the end of games a little bit, but they're not just getting barraged. Think of the U.S. playing Belgium in 2014 when Tim Howard made 15 saves and was just, the U.S. was back on their heels for pretty much the whole game. Now the U.S. played England, which is, that same caliber, probably better than Belgium was then, and the U.S. played the better game. So that's what's more comforting here. They're just not giving up tons and tons of great chances because Tyler Adams cleans up everything in the midfield, and the rest of the defense has been hanging on pretty well.
So who's played well? You just mentioned Tyler Adams. I said this on the air yesterday, and about 8 trillion times more soccer than I do. Tyler Adams starts on the majority of other World Cup teams, correct? Like, he's really good, not just in USA soccer, but like the world, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's playing at Leeds, which is a, middle of the table Premier League team, but he's a starter there. Before that, he was in Germany playing for a Champions League club. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next year or two, a bigger English club or somebody else snatched him up. And he needs to be in the right system. He's a guy, he's kind of he just cleans up all the messes. There's a lot of things, like I mentioned, teams aren't getting a lot of great chances. A lot of that's because Tyler Adams is cutting things out, a pass or two before they get to the shots. So I think he's probably been the U.S.'s best player. He's definitely their most valuable player in the sense that they do not have a like-for-like replacement for him. So he's the guy you just want to put in bubble wrap before and after every game so he doesn't get hurt. Pulisic's been really good. He's
now you got a goal and an assist. Not many people in the World Cup have that.
Right. One more, and that's what you want from your star and your scorer to do that. So he's been good. The U.S. has, I think, been putting him in some good spots where he can get some space and make some runs and isn't asked to do some other stuff that isn't necessarily his strength. Nobody's really been bad, and that's really kind of a more important thing. It's not like anybody's just been awful. And obviously, some people make mistakes here and there, but there's no one that you're just like, well, this guy I don't know why he's on the team. Except maybe a couple of subs, but you can chalk that up to strategy or the weirdness of endgame as much as anything. So Adams has stood out to me. Pulisic's been really good, and the whole team has just been solid.
They can't score. What's the problem?
I mean, how long do you have? So, I mean, the problem
I got
is
as
basically,
long as you got. You're way more busier than I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of simple. They don't have a number 9, a center forward, so to speak. And a lot of teams have that issue. I mean, Denmark went out today because they don't have a reliable goal scorer. Mexico just got a goal, actually. Their first one of the tournament. They don't have a reliable goal scorer up top. There just aren't as many as you might think. And the U.S. just hasn't had Josie Altidore was really good for a while, but nobody's come and replaced him over the last 5-6 years for the U.S. But they just don't have that guy, that Harry Kane type that can just kind of go get you a goal and do everything you need to do up top and then let everyone else work off of that. They don't have that guy yet.
Have they ever had that guy?
I mean, you could point to like a Brian McBride and an Eric Winalda back in the day.
I was like, how about in the most recent, like 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, Josie Altidore is your closest thing.
Okay.
A little bit different. But yeah, he was also, the U.S. didn't have as much ball. They weren't trying to be as proactive when Altidore was usually there. So he was asked to do different things. But I think he did a lot of really good stuff. He'd be the closest thing in the last 20 years or so.
We're talking with Paul Carr, Director of Content for True Media Sports, which is doing all the game notes for this World Cup. So Paul's been a very, very busy guy. Once again, Paul, thank you for coming on and talking all things soccer with us. All right, so they need to score goals now against the Netherlands. The Netherlands is, I don't want to say they're a juggernaut because I think they won the worst group of all of the groups. If I were to pick the team that the USA had to play of the other group winners, we know that, France won the group. Right now, Argentina is going to win the group. Who else? Brazil has won the group. Looks like Portugal is going to win the group. And then you got the Netherlands. Like, I would pick the Netherlands. Like, this is a great situation, is it not?
It is. I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. Right now, and things could get weird, but right now they're the probably the worst team that's going to win its group. They're the worst seeded team, you could say.
Yeah.
They're not as good as England. Maybe that's an easy comparison. They obviously have some talent, and they have a few guys that are world class. But their best scorer, Memphis Depay, is still coming back from injury. He just made his first start in the third group game. They've outscored opponents 5-1, but their underlying numbers are a lot worse than that, both offensively and defensively. So, yeah, it's about as good a draw. Look, it's the knockout stage of a World Cup. You can't complain about any opponent, but this is about as good a draw with a big name. It's kind of like, you make the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. You're pretty likely to get a blue blood type of school, and the U.S. has that, but it's a blue blood in a down year.
What do they do well? Like, what does Netherlands do well?
Yeah, I mean, they're world-class guys. It's Memphis Depay up top, goal scorer. Cody Gakpo is a 23-year-old. He's got a goal in each game in this tournament. He's kind of an attacking midfielder. He's really one of the young stars of the tournament. Virgil van Dijk is a center back from Liverpool that people may have heard of. Has been one of the best center backs in the world. I think he's a year-ish past his prime. So, yeah, they don't do a lot of things poorly. Those are the three kind of big studs up the middle of the field. But they don't have, it's not like, England, where they probably have, world-class players at almost every position and just couldn't put all the pieces together. Netherlands just is the notch below them. They're like the 8th betting favorite to win before the tournament, and that's about where they're at.
So the way that Team USA wins this is how? Yeah. What's the thought? If you're watching this game on Saturday, 9 a.m, what do you need to be watching for?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to be hoping for the U.S. to be proactive. So, like that first half with England, they went toe-to-toe. And, if you didn't know, you wouldn't necessarily know there was this general gap in perception of how good each team was. So you hope that the U.S. is not going to bunker, and I don't think they will. So, yeah, you just want to see how much of the ball they have and are giving up many opportunities. And Netherlands hasn't shown the ability to really do that, to break down a defense and create opportunities. I mean, they had 2 shots against Ecuador, which is a solid defensive team. Mm-hmm. But they had 2 shots in 90 minutes. And I know they went up early, but you had 1 shot in 84 minutes after scoring a goal. So, just want to see how much of the ball the U.S. has and what kind of opportunities, what kind of opportunities they give up. Is the U.S. going to push forward for a goal? Because you'd hope so. You don't want to just bunker and play for extra time and penalties. I don't think we'll see that, at least maybe not till the end. So, yeah, just things to keep an eye on. How much the ball the U.S. has, what kind of opportunities they're giving up.
Is the defense for the Netherlands good? Like, can you get them? Like, the defenses that we have seen in the group, Wales packed it in, Iran packed it in, England, exceptional defensively. Like, will this be the worst defense that we've seen?
They're definitely not as good as England. England has a defense that's played really well, even though the attack hasn't been doing much for them in this tournament. The England defense is solid. The Dutch defense it's a notch below England. It's better than Wales, probably better than Iran. But again, you got Van Dijk in the middle. To get technical, the Dutch will play more 5 at the back and then have those 2 wing backs on the outside push forward. Whereas the other teams had 3 or 4 at the back most of the time. So that's a little different from a U.S. perspective. It just changes your attacking angles and such. They're decent. Again, Van Dijk is not as good as he was. He's still very good, one of the better defenders in the world, but he's not like the number one guy that he has been in recent years. So yeah, again, they're a good defense. This is not a scary defense that you are afraid of. So it's about as good as you can hope for facing a blue blood type of country in the knockout stage.
All righty. If Pulisic doesn't play, how big of a deal is that?
Yeah. I mean, the big question is how healthy is Gio Reyna?
I can answer that question for you. He's not.
I think you're correct, and I think the U.S. just isn't saying it. Yeah, if you could sub in Reyna for Pulisic and you knew Reyna was healthy, wouldn't be too worried about it. Aronson can come in for Pulisic and do some of the same things. He can, press a little more defensively. Isn't quite as creative as Pulisic. He might not find that pass to Weah, for example, but he'll make different runs. So it changes a little of what you have to do. So not the end of the world if Pulisic's not in the game, but you do lose a little bit. I mean, you just lose that class. More, I think, that pass from the first game that he was able to find.
Mm-hmm.
But also those, the U.S. was putting him in spots to make those runs like he had on the goal. I think other guys can do that. The passing part is what I think the U.S. would miss from him a little bit more.
All righty. Let's say Saturday, Team USA wins. Is this the biggest win in USA World Cup history?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, first of all, we'll just kind of, we'll call it the modern era.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, 1930 doesn't count.
Third, yeah, we're finished third in 1930, but nobody remembers that.
No.
And there's still kind of two answers. I mean, you beat in 2002, the U.S. beat Mexico in a quarterfinal. Like that's your arch rival, in the round of 16 to get to the quarterfinal.
Correct.
I don't know that it would be as big as that purely from a kind of on the field standpoint, but we are 20 years past that. There will be 10 times as many people watching this game on TV in the U.S. as there were that game, which was at 3 a.m. in South Korea and Japan. So from a good for the sport, get people into it sort of thing. Yeah, it would be the biggest U.S. win on the men's side that they've had. Again, you're comparing apples and oranges to tangerines and stuff a little bit, but it'd be pretty huge because then you got a quarterfinal. You get like 5 more days of buildup. It could be against Argentina, which would be unbelievable. So, yeah, lots of things in play there.
That was my next question. So, if you win Saturday, you take on either Australia, who is already locked in, or as it stands right now, boy, it's getting interesting in Group C. Ho, buddy.
Yeah.
Argentina's up 1-0. So as it stands right now, Argentina would win it. Argentina would probably beat Australia. So then you take on Australia or Argentina. Like that would be epic, would it not?
I mean, you can't top U.S. You're taking on Lionel Messi. From a casual U.S. sports fan perspective, he's one of the guys that some people can name. So it's about as good a situation as you can have just from a hype standpoint. You're going to play Argentina. You're going to play Lionel Messi. The World Cup quarterfinal would be great.
Let's say Poland scores and it's tied. Then Poland would be there.
Poland scores and it's tied. He gets out of simulator. Yeah. Then Poland would be.
They would. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and in another way, in some ways, that would be better for the U.S. I mean, you can get that quadrant of the bracket would be Netherlands, Poland, and Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, then you're looking at an opportunity, kind of like you had in 2010, when it was Ghana, South Korea, and Uruguay in the U.S. quadrant, but the U.S. lost to Ghana in extra time. But yeah, you couldn't ask for anything better than playing a weak seed and then getting either Poland, who's a decent European team, but obviously not world beaters, and Australia, who I still think is not good, even though they got out of the group. Like that would be just a phenomenal scenario for the U.S. to have to beat 2 of those teams to get to a semifinal.
The Black Stars, by the way, of Ghana, that's one of the coolest names of all time. The Black Stars.
African teams have the best nicknames. All of them have something too. Like Cameroon is the Indomitable Lions, and Tunisia is the Carthage Eagles. And
what's Senegal?
Morocco is the Pharaohs. Senegal is the Lions of Teranga.
I mean, and what are we? What are
we're
we? USMNT, just lame.
Stars and Stripes, yeah.
So lame.
Very generic.
You know,
Yeah,
at least England is, the Three Lions. What's
Right.
Brazil?
They call it El Seleção, which is a Portuguese term basically meaning like the selection of the team. Not great. Yeah, nobody beats Africa. I mean, Nigeria is the Super Eagles. I mean, it's just Africa's the
awesome.
best. And even all you get down to some of the smaller countries too, and the list, and it's like this is great. Why are we so bad at this?
It's so true. It's just zero creativity. USMNT. That's lame. We're so lame.
Yep.
I'm excited for this. So has it changed your mind on who wins? Like who wins the whole thing? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I said Argentina before the tournament. I mean, if Argentina wins the group, from their perspective, they get to play Australia in the first knockout round, which is about as easy a draw as you can get. Then they get either the U.S. or a Netherlands team that's just okay. That's pretty great for them. So I still feel pretty good about Argentina. I know they lost to Saudi Arabia, but they've really played pretty well. They're just not converting all their shots. So I still feel good about that. I mean, I think Brazil has probably looked better. France looked better in the first couple games. But I still like Argentina, especially the way the draw's shaping up for them.
Is there a dark horse that you think, like a Croatia that made it all the way to the semis last time? Something like that?
Yeah, I mean, Croatia is the one to keep an eye on. They still have to get out of the group.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to play Belgium and try to get out of the group, but they're definitely a factor. I mean, whoever gets out of the last group with Portugal, that's maybe the closer thing to a dark horse, whether it's Ghana or Uruguay or South Korea. Any of those teams could theoretically make a run. Those seem like kind of the leaders off the top of my head. I mean, you want to get weird and throw the U.S. in there, sure, if the quadrant comes out pretty well. But yeah, Denmark was a very popular one, including for me before the tournament. They're out, didn't perform. So yeah, there's a few still lurking, and the joy is, maybe Senegal beats England, and then something's going there. Who knows?
Your favorite hashtag root for chaos. We might get that. It might, and this is I don't know if there's a better way to do this tiebreaker wise, but let's say Argentina scores another goal.
And they just did.
Let's get weird.
To, depending on your CV. So yeah. So let me set this up right now. So right now, Poland and Mexico are tied for second in the group.
Yeah.
They are level on points, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next tiebreaker is goal difference. They're even.
Yep.
The next tiebreaker is goals. They're even. They drew head to head. And the next tiebreaker is basically yellow card points. They call it team conduct score.
No.
I'm pulling this up right now to see where we're at. So right now, Poland has 4 yellows and Mexico has 7.
Oh, no.
So, as it stands, Poland would go through based on fewer yellows, it happened in 2018, actually. But this is phenomenal. I'm so excited.
Poland advances because they're nicer. They're less aggressive.
That's right.
Is that the way it should be?
I mean, no, but
what else are you going to do?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, obviously the best thing would be to put these two teams on a neutral field somewhere and have them do something, a shootout or whatever, but you can't do that necessarily. I guess you could at Qatar. They're pretty close to each other, but yeah, that's the rules. You know what they are going in. So you should have to adjust to it and be a little more cautious, especially down at the end when the yellows might come into play.
This is I've enjoyed this World Cup. Fulton has as well. Have you enjoyed it? Like, is it a lot of the groups are coming down to the very, very end. So the drama's fantastic. Like if you're Mexico right now, you got to sell out for another goal or hope that Argentina gets greedy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you should go for it.
Do coaches know that? Like, do you think Mexico's manager knows like what's going on right now?
They should. I mean, we saw in one of the games earlier, Tunisia had toward the end of the game, their game really didn't matter, and they just needed Denmark to score and tie Australia. Tunisia's guys were on the bench, huddled around an iPad watching the game. So I think so. Much easier now, obviously, than it was even 10, 20 years ago.
Alrighty, Paul. If Team USA wins on Saturday, we're gonna bring you back on next week because and here's the thing. I hope this is I want somebody like either Tyler Adams or Aronson or somebody to score a goal in like the 87th minute, and it will be the biggest goal in U.S. history if they win.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that just think of that Donovan moment from 2010 and multiply that time a lot.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Paul,
Great.
you're the absolute best. Now go back into your soccer bunker. Thank you so much, my friend. Folks, if you like soccer, interested in soccer, follow Paul Carr on Twitter, at Paul Carr. The soccer info that he gives, it's exceptional. You need to do it. Paul, you're the best.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Have a good one.
Paul now is going to go into his soccer bunker and start doing all sorts of stats and numbers.
We got about
we stole
20
for 25 minutes.
We got about 20 plus minutes left in both Mexico and Saudi Arabia and Poland, Argentina. Stoppage time, we'll throw a little bit of that off. Someone needs goal. Like, and that's what, like,
epic.
If you're Argentina, you're kind of fine at where you're at.
Know,
you're
that's
good.
Why they don't need to
if
score
you are,
again.
if you are Mexico, which I'm with Paul. I like when they've made. I like that they make these final group games all played at the same time for your group.
Correct.
I like that. We saw what happened when they didn't, and it was a disgrace to the game, and it was terrible and awful.
Yeah, remember, it was the what game was it?
It was the disgrace of Dijon. It was between Germany and somebody. I think it was Germany and somebody else. But they knew because of the earlier result that, like, I can't remember who scored the goal first, but they knew if that result held, they were both through. So they just passed the ball around for like 80 minutes.
Yeah, one goal was scored.
Yeah, and then they knew at that moment because the result earlier in the day.
Wasn't that like? There was talk that there was collusion that they'd let him score.
It might have. I can't remember that far part of it. But I do remember, like, it was such a bad look for soccer. They're like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. And since that moment, the final two games for the groups all played at the exact same time. They know.
It's the same situation that happened last year in Vegas and the Chargers. If it's a tie, they both advance. But they didn't agree. They didn't.
They could have colluded.
Yeah.
They could have colluded.
Yeah, I think in that situation, because the goal was scored so early that two teams colluded and said, hey, if you score a goal, we both win. You advance, we advance. Let's go forward. And that's what occurred. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was between West Germany and Austria. And yeah, so the match was there was a match between Algeria and Chile the day before. So with that decided and known, a win by 1 or 2 goals for West Germany results in both West Germany and Austria qualifying instead of Algeria. So the minute, I believe it was, the West Germans went up 1-0, and then they stopped playing, basically.
Yeah.
They stopped playing.
And you want to know what's funny? I have no problem with that.
I'm not really good. It's just like if the Chargers and Raiders had need for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
It would have been very unentertaining to watch, but I would not have blamed either team for 5 seconds. No.
Some people are going to be, what about the integrity of the game? No,
Screw that.
The integrity of the game is to advance.
The integrity of the game is to move on.
Yeah. In that situation, it is to move on. That is wild. Oh, man.
Yeah, after the goal was scored, the team in possession of the ball often passed between themselves in their own half, and until an opposition player came into the vicinity of the ball was passed back to the goalkeeper. Like, they just kicked it around for forever.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the goal was scored in the 10th minute. So for the final 80 minutes, they did nothing. The fans were irate.
If it was my team, I wouldn't care. Great. Are we advancing? Are we going? Like, are we qualifying for the World Cup? Sweet.
Apparently, the match was criticized even by West German and Austrian fans because they wanted a good game. Reportedly, and I mean, I'm Googling, like, this is a cursory thing, so some of these reports can always be kind of misconstrued. Reportedly, apparently, one West German fan burned the national flag in protest of what happened.
You advanced. I don't care.
It's wild.
If Team USA had to draw with Iran, and Iran and Team USA both would advance, you want to know what I'd say?
Draw.
Sweet. We're playing Netherlands.
Yeah. As a result of this game from the World Cup 1986 and onward, the final pair of group matches in World Cups always starts at the same time, which is why we're having these matches all being played identical.
Mexico,
even when the results don't matter, even when the results are independent of another, this is just how it works now. We don't let the disgrace of Dijon ever happen again.
So, I just
Dijon, not Dijon. Not the mustard.
You know how you joke with we don't know what the time is, stoppage time, all that. It sounds like 5 minutes. The most important tournament in the world will be determined on who was less mean when playing soccer. Like Mexico was a little bit too mean in going after the ball than Poland. They were nicer. That's incredible. But is that better than a coin flip?
Probably.
Is it?
I don't know.
Would you rather lose on a coin flip or lose because you weren't you were more of a better sport and you weren't necessarily trying to take anybody out? Because in order to get a yellow,
it has to be malicious. Here's my issue with yellow card points and conduct points. Essentially, I get when you get to this point, you got to get to the real stickler things that are not what you want to use for tiebreakers, but you kind of have to. My thing with yellow card points is they're still subjective at times.
At all times.
And
there's
that's my
nothing
thing.
objective about it.
You know me. I don't really like subjective things getting to be deciding factors.
Well, let me hold on real quick. You're correct because it's objective. If you handball in the box, it's
like
a card.
some of them are very objective.
You are 100%
but there are
right.
some yellow cards to where it can be more subjective, and I don't like that. So I don't like that. Maybe Mexico has those three, and I doubt there is, but maybe the 3 extra yellows Mexico has over Poland were all ticky-tack yellows. Well, now because one referee was a bit of a stickler one day, maybe Poland's a couple yellows short.
Good call.
Because they had a referee more willing to let them play. That's my issue with yellow card differential. Is it's not always
no, that's very.
There's supposed to be clear defined reasons for a yellow, but there aren't. That's why I like goal differential. I like head to heads. I like those things.
And that's why I say all those. I'm with you. Goal differential,
because they are hard line factual things.
So I'm going to ask you this: would you rather, if you're Mexico or Poland, would you rather be knocked out via because the next one, if they're even on yellows, it's a coin flip, I believe.
It might be. We get deep in those tiebreakers. It gets to that, and I'd rather go out. I'll be honest. I'd rather go out on yellows because at least there's some level of merit in existence to yellows. There might be some subjectiveness that you don't like to them, and you could think, man, we're out because a couple of those yellows were ticky-tacky. But there's a point to it. There's an effect in the game to it. I would never. I would be irate if I didn't get to advance in a tournament of a coin flip. Which the NFL has that, like deep in the NFL tiebreakers is coin flips.
Yeah, no,
those are disgraceful. Those are disgraceful.
From the Big O Tires text line, is there a level below yellows? I think it's a coin flip.
I would believe it. And
I think
that's where I call you have to find something better.
I will.
Check with Paul.
I did. I just sent Paul
check
a
with
text.
Paul.
Yeah. Yep. I did. We got to get a timeout. We'll get to a little KSU hoops. They take on Butler. We'll get to that next. Tree, which is the name of the Mexican national team, I believe. They just had a golden opportunity and just wasted it. Almost a wide open net. All they have to do is kick it a smidge high, and they drilled it right into the defender.
Gotta be able to chip it.
Oh my goodness.
This time of year rocks. Well, this sporting event, not this time of year, because this event should be played in the summer. This event rocks.
Holy smoke.
The World Cup is fun.
Everyone in Mexico right now is just screaming. I was screaming during the commercial break because it was.
Can confirm Jake was because I heard him through.
Goodness.
So some inside baseball here. There's a thick piece of glass.
Toothpick thick pieces.
Yeah, it is two.
That's
two thick pieces of glass. I forgot it is actually 2 paints. Between Jake and I, separating my control room and the studio that Jake's in. That's thick enough. Like, we can't really hear each other through it. Like, we have to project very loudly if we wanted to talk through. That's why we have these little talkback buttons to speak in each other's rooms. I heard Jake screaming clear as day through the glass. That's how loud Jake was being, which is hilarious.
I get the we got a breakaway, a chance for Mexico. Could we have a penalty? Nope, it might be. Like, I understand how big this is.
Yeah, for these countries, it's huge.
Like, 80% of Mexico right now is watching this match.
I think 80 actually might be too low.
No, that's not a penalty. If that's a penalty, that's soft. The forward for Mexico just fell down. Like, that's not a penalty.
Oh, it was like the forward for Iran who wanted a penalty at the end of the match yesterday.
Yeah, that's not a penalty. They're going to give him one, but they're going to say he wasn't in the box. So the ball is going to be like 2 feet outside the box.
Wow, 2 feet outside the 18-yard box.
Oh, my God. Like, this, I just know how important this is. And, like, the gravitas of it. It's like, did you not see the Iranian player just bawling after the game? I don't know. It's fantastic theater to me. It's fantastic drama. Like, this is how legends are made. That's why I said if somebody scores a goal to beat Netherlands in the last 10 minutes, like, that guy's a hero. for U.S. soccer. He would be like, David Freese for the Cardinals. He's you know what I mean?
A legend.
I mean, it is a foot outside the box. And he's just going to blast this puppy towards the goal. And I cannot wait. This would be incredible if this is how it goes down. And he drills it right into the wall. All right, K-State.
Yes,
taking on Butler.
Basketball. Yes. So I wanted to say this first year on K-State Butler. K-State 6-0. They're going to try and go 7-0. I'm going to look deeper when I have more time. I couldn't tell you the last time K-State basketball started 7-0. The best under Bruce Weber was 6-0.
I couldn't give that.
I've kind of gone back in the Wayback Machine. I can't find it. I will know by tomorrow, especially if K-State wins. I will have the answer to this question. I will find the answer to that. But K-State, I don't know if I'd say should win.
Well, they're underdogs. They're a 2.5-point underdog.
It's got to be the road factor.
Oh, 100%.
Because, Butler's not great, but they're not bad either. And, there might be a level to it that they wonder how K-State's been playing because they haven't played top-quality opponents. They just played finally some good ones over Thanksgiving. To me, I think there also should be a factor. K-State hasn't played in a week. Last time K-State played was a week ago today.
Ken Palm-wise, Butler is the 94th ranked team. K-State is 50th. K-State should win this game, but it's on the road at Hinkle. I think
you have 50 K-State 51st and Ken Palm, Butler 94th.
No, I want to double check this, but I believe when I checked this morning, K-State was a 2.5-point underdog.
Yeah, see if the line's changed. Because that just feels like such a odd line for a game with that big differential on Ken Palm.
Yes,
and Ken Palm, I will reference it a bunch because it's truly one of the better predictors for how good a team is.
No, I rephrase that. They are not.
Okay.
They're 3.5-point underdogs.
The line went up in favor of Butler?
You can get the Cats if you are into a wager or two, plus 128 on the money line.
What does Vegas know? I'm having one of those moments. What does Vegas know that I don't?
Yeah, K-State, they've got two dudes.
They do.
Marquise Noel is playing like a dude right now.
Marquise Noel is playing like a dude, and Keontae Johnson is a dude.
Is a bona fide dude.
He's a dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is a good test for K-State, a true road game, middle of the week. You're really starting to get through some stuff here. You're trying to find yourselves that you had some good tough wins in the Cayman Islands over your tournament.
The LSU win is a good win.
Yeah, you were down late in that game and charged back to get that win. Keontae Johnson played incredibly well in that game.
LSU's a top 50 win. And honestly, Nevada.
Yeah, LSU's 54th in Ken Palm.
Yeah,
right
Nevada, they're 80th. So.
Yeah. That's technically, according to Ken Pomeroy's numbers, two better teams K-State's beaten on a neutral floor. Part of it is the road factor, and it's a true road game at Butler. But I don't know. I'd pick the Cats. I'm not telling any of you to put money wager down. That's your call. But I'd pick the Cats. But this is one of those games where I truly am wondering what Vegas knows that I don't. Which makes me worried on the betting side of things when I have these moments of just Vegas knows something.
Yeah. We'll get another quick timeout. We will get to the Chiefs and their roster construction next. Just scored a goal, but they were offsides.
You can't celebrate until the man with the flags and the little formless gray faces tell you can celebrate.
They almost got it in. That is, Mexico's got 6 minutes to stay in the World Cup.
I just have to be honest. My Twitter timeline is showing me I follow the right people with the comments I'm getting on these games right now. They're truly amazing.
I mean, and it wasn't close. He was
off.
Oh, way offsides. You know,
inches.
Well, this one was more actually like a foot. Like he wasn't close. Like
we're into the 90th minute between Poland and Argentina. We're almost there in Saudi Arabia, Mexico.
And the Poland Argentina,
everyone's packing it in there.
Yeah,
Argentina's packing it in.
They're
and
just
good.
Like, look,
Mexico needs to just start firing.
And they have been, man. They've had many chances. Many chances. Last Chiefs little nugget. Should the Chiefs, and we talked about this earlier today, the Chiefs don't have anybody who is a considered top 25 player under 25. I think Reid, for what he does, is
agreed.
But because of the position he plays,
center's so undervalued.
They're not going to. And if there is a position, you could argue center has the, should you pay a lot of money for a center? That is going to be a question for Brett Veach in 2 years.
It actually will be.
Now they could franchise tag him because the center franchise tag probably
it's not going to be too much.
Very much.
Probably not at that point in time.
But
no, it'll be a question when that time comes. How much do you value a good center?
Yeah,
because Creed's really great there.
They don't have a lot of elite talent.
No,
outside of three guys. Honestly, outside of Mahomes, Kelce, and Jones.
It's just a bunch of above average dudes, but they're not elite superstar talent. And the best part of it is a lot of it is young, been drafted recently. And while the Chiefs don't have elite studs at the youth spots of their team, they have a lot of above average young talent. And even then, even the guys that aren't above average and young had the potential to even get there even further. So the Chiefs are still set up in a very good spot because they're teams with probably better top end young talent, but they got young talent depth in spades, which is tremendous.
All right. Of the young guys, who has a chance to be a dude? And Creed, I think, is one.
Yeah.
But
Trent McDuffie's going to be a dude.
See, I think it's McDuffie as well.
Trent McDuffie by next year, the year after, will be one of the top 10 corners in the NFL.
No, I'm with you on that one.
He's going to be a stud. Just give him a little more time.
Yeah, that was my question is, I think he's got to play more games.
Yeah, he just needs more time, but he'll be there. No. As long as his health stays up and he keeps progressing as he should, Trent McDuffie's going to be one of the best corners in football.
Mexico just had a great shot saved by the goalie. How about this? Poland had a non-goalie head a ball that was going to be a goal for Argentina out.
Oh,
Because if Argentina scores, Mexico's in.
Yep.
We'll get a timeout. We'll have a little mic drop after this. Mexico has had 10 chances to score a goal in the last 10 minutes. And then Saudi Arabia just got a goal. They left it open. They pushed so far forward.
Yeah.
I respect it. You went down swinging, Mexico, and they scored a goal. So now Poland
Mexico's out. No fair play required.
Poland, you can start partying.
Good for the Poles.
Prague is lit. No, Prague's
that's wrong country, bud.
That's wrong. What?
Just say Warsaw.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Prague
Just
is
pick that one.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Pretty sure Prague's in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, it's Warsaw.
I don't know.
You're right. Man, this is fantastic.
My Eastern European geography not
right. Yeah, Prague is not there. What do you got for your mic
World
drop?
Cup's awesome. That's it.
K-State, go beat Butler. Start 7-0. That'd be awesome. Coming up, we got more to get to tomorrow here on Mic'd Up.